Is there a true life mission or purpose? And if so, how do we find it? I'd say yes. So both in the case of the human who is new to this next level of evolution that's opening up to humanity at this time, as well as the wanderer who is already familiar with that in their own native history, but has come here to be of service to this transition phase, for both of these, it is a very relevant question to ask yourself, is there a mission and what is it? Asking the proper question is like unlocking the code to the answer. So why the fuck am I here? Can you all hear me? Mic test. Wonderful. Welcome, welcome. Take a deep breath and relax. Take another deep breath and relax. Hey Murray, good to see you. Take another deep breath. Do not be distracted by anything. And relax. And for a moment we rest in our naturally undistracted nature, which is not a thing, but it is experientially self-evident, or you could say tangible. Whenever we are undistracted by appearances, and literally everything you can think about, everything you can refer to, everything you can feel or sense or otherwise experience is called an appearance. Because it's a very technical, accurate term, because it appears to you. And there's not a single experience other than awareness of awareness itself, or being, resting in being, or I am that I am, that is not an appearance to you. That is not appearing to you. So everything you know is in some way an appearance to you. If we paused long enough to let that sink in, we can see how essentially simple this fabled enlightenment really is, and how accessible it is to every conscious being on the planet. Or at least every self-conscious being, every human being on the planet. Some of these insights are so exceedingly simple that they're almost complicated because of how simple they are. They seem complex or complicated, but they're not. All it requires is to acknowledge that everything that experiences, or that is experienced, is appearing to you. Just that recognition of the actual reality of everything makes enlightenment kind of land in your lap. Then the next step of this initial moment of illumination, of clarity, of recognition that all things indeed are appearing to awareness, would then be to remain undistracted by these appearances, to rest your attention in the already undistracted nature of that to which these appearances appear. So again, I often use the example, because it's a live example, of my voice. That's your present experience. That is the appearance that is appearing to something already undistracted within you. And if you simply align yourself to the recognition that this basic space of intelligence is already wide open and undistracted by my voice, then you're using the appearance of my voice as a mirror to notice yourself, your essence, your undistracted nature. This does not require anything particularly intense or complicated. It's very simple recognition. So don't make it more complicated than it is. That's my job as a teacher. It's not your job as an adept. Your job is to take the simplest route, the most direct route, the tools that evoke this realization for you, to keep it simple, and to dedicate yourself to that insight, to that keyhole into the kingdom, that key that fits the door into the kingdom. So see how powerful something as simple as the realization that everything is an appearance actually is. Notice the difference, the shift in the experience of yourself. If all you say to yourself, if all you acknowledge about this moment, including my voice and the camera and your butt on the chair and the room that you're in, if in your present moment all you do is acknowledge that all of that is an appearance, instead of treating it unconsciously like actual things that are out there in the real world, outside of your body, which is then you. If you leave all that complexity and those assumptions aside, and all you acknowledge in the present moment is that your present experience is a canvas or a tapestry of appearances. Because even the most tangible thing in your room right now, whether that is the chair you're sitting on, your own body, or maybe a painful emotion, you cannot deny, and instead you can joyfully acknowledge, therefore, that that seemingly real thing is in actual fact appearing to you. Thus, everything you are now aware of is an appearance. It's an appearance. Your life is an appearance. The butt in your chair is an appearance. The chair is an appearance. Your thoughts are an appearance. And if you start to see things as appearances, notice the shift in freedom, in ease, in relief, that's suddenly available at the basis of every experience, at the essence, at the foundation, in the moment of each experience. Just by calling a thing an appearance instead of a thing, you see. It changes your assumption. It changes your relationship to that experience of that thing, just by calling it an appearance. And now it's not as rigid, it's not as real, it's not as external to yourself. It's not as powerful over you, because It's not a thing. It's an appearance. So everything is an appearance. Then we can find out, by tuning into this moment, what is every appearance appearing to in the moment. You can only ever practice now, not tomorrow, not 2 to 5 seconds from now. Now. What is it that these appearances or experiences appear to? Who is that? What is that? And so your attention can rest in the spacious, naturally open presence of clear, intelligent wakefulness. That which hears my voice without your effort, without your ego, without your doing, without your problems, without your solutions, without your imagination. You cannot undo the registering of my voice. You may not like what I say. You may love what I say. Equally so, evenly so. The undistracted basis of all appearances is what we could loosely call you. Simple, simple, simple. Enlightenment is far simpler than your life. All right, my friends, you wrote some beautiful questions in the Slido app during one or more of the previous sessions. And my team selected the top 10 upvoted questions. So thank you so much for that. Feel free to use the Slido app also during this session. So if I'm answering one of the questions and you have a question arise in response to that, feel free to post it. The chance that I will actually answer from Slido today are small, but it just helps create a database of questions. And based on your votes, we can see what kind of themes are relevant for you guys, what kind of confusions my talks might inspire you to seek more through. And that way we can address certain themes at certain times. It can be an inspiration for an upcoming session and so on and so forth. So your questions will not go to waste. They are collected and they are kept, and we do look at how popular each of these questions are and if they are recurring often and so on, to sort of help us shape the what is needed within Massaro University thread, if that makes sense. So feel free to share your most heartfelt questions and to vote on them. A beautiful first question, the most upvoted one, I believe. Now, as always, I do not prepare my talks unless there's a heavy technical discourse where I want to get a lot of details across in a particular sort of order or hierarchy. So I have not studied these questions or prepared anything. And I'm sharing this now because I want you guys to simply tap into the teaching of spontaneity, the teaching of confidence and trust in your own stream of illumination, so that more and more you can live life as it is, less and less contrived, constructed, and letting the intelligence that speaks fairly effortlessly through my body can also speak through your body and speak into your body and your mind, meaning inform it with more wisdom, more freedom, more love, more courage, more honor, and all these natural qualities that are innate in the nature of this basic intelligence that lies already undistracted at the basis of every sound, of every thought, of every feeling, of every objection, of every assertion, of every moment. Do not project enlightenment onto me as a body because my body is not enlightened. It shits, it poops. If it is overwhelmed by some substance it doesn't like, it pukes. If it gets stressed by too much stimulus, it develops some mild tics. My body is not enlightened, although its nature is illumination. But do not project enlightenment onto me as a body, because, first of all, this is not what I look like. Now, that's not to say I'm cloaking myself and I'm some kind of a reptilian overlord that is shape-shifting into a human form. This is my only conventional, stable form. I do not shapeshift as such. However, this is not what I look like. So it's good to remember you have never seen me with your visual eyes. Now this applies to you too. Nobody, including yourself, has ever seen you with your physical eyes, or with their physical eyes. So it's good to remember that this appearance is not what you actually look like, is not what you actually are. You're not actually seeing yourself when you look in the mirror. Unless you look beyond the appearance and you recognize that basic, formless, timeless perfection, which is the essence of wakefulness, of experience, of knowledge, of lack of knowledge, of lack of experience. It's the same basis. That's what you are and look like, not this funny little thing. Okay, so do not project enlightenment onto me as a body. Understand enlightenment internally as formless and universal. It's very important. Now, it's fine to use idols. I've used a lot of idols in my life, myself, from Superman to Bruce Lee to whoever inspired me in that moment towards greater competence or greater skillfulness or greater learning or greater motivation. So you can use me as an idol if that helps you. But just always remember that it's just symbolic, it's just representative. It's just an example of what's possible. It's an expression of your own potential. Just like Bruce Lee is an expression of your innate potential. And so is Donald Trump. Kamala Harris, they're all expressions of your innate potential. So choose your idols, choose them maybe carefully, but do not project the reality onto anyone's body, especially when it comes to the nature of self-illumination, freedom, liberation, enlightenment, empowerment, and so on. That's a subjective scientific study. It's scientific in its approach, or it can be, but it is subjective. It's about the subject. So if you see in me some form of illumination, some form of intelligence speaking through this body, I want you to take that out of the picture of the world and my body and internalize that. And so by me being spontaneous in whatever I share and looking at those questions, I did look at them once, I did see them, but I didn't study them, I didn't prepare anything. So as always, I'll interact with you guys freely, spontaneously in the moment, because I also want you to activate that for yourself. It's a common stream, it's available, it's like the radio stations that are always available, you just need to be attuned to them. So internalize whatever you see or hear me speak about. Beautiful question. How can we transform doubt into conviction and build confidence? How can we transform doubt into conviction and build confidence? How are these two different to begin with? Okay, so two definitions, confidence and conviction. In the way that I use the word conviction, it means to be convinced of something. So when you are convinced of something, you have conviction in that idea or thing or reality or recognition or realization. which can give you confidence. Confidence is relative, usually, to a particular challenge, or relative to interacting with other people, or relative to your own goals, perhaps, or purpose. Are you confident in relationship to this or that? Can you be confident in relationship to what you are saying to the world, or what you believe in, or what you're trying to communicate to your partner? Are you confident in your endeavors, in your manifestations, and so on? So confidence, in a sense, is an attitude. It's a state of being. Conviction is a little bit different than that, at least in its application. Because conviction is kind of more static. Confidence is something you practice. It's an attitude. It's a state of mind. But conviction is something you can't change until you change it. But until it's changed, it remains static. Examples of this are everywhere. You are convinced of something, and therefore you will act according to that, either with or without confidence in a positive outcome, either with or without confidence in what you actually already believe in, with or without confidence socially, in response to others, when you're being observed by others, when your words are being scrutinized, perhaps, when you feel judged, and so on. So confidence is a more relative attitude that you can bring into the mix of your present appearances whenever you wish. But conviction is something that you believe or know to be true. And ideally, we want it to be knowing rather than believing. Because ultimately, beliefs fail us and they are conceptual. Whereas knowing is fresh, it's in the moment, and it transcends the mind, at least a type of knowing and conviction relevant to my body of work. Because usually when we speak of conviction, we speak about you as the nature of reality. We speak about the underlying oneness of all things. We refer to the freedom that's already yours, that's already here. And we want you to have conviction in that, certainty, certitude, realness, reliability. So when you're convinced of, which you can arrive at through confidence practices, but once you then are convinced of, let's say, that awareness is always already present, just to name one angle of the teachings, once you are convinced that that greater formless awareness is always already present, no matter what appears, then that will reflect itself in your experiences. And this will express itself as confidence, but not a contrived kind of confidence, not something you need to practice, because conviction's already there. So you could say conviction is the big brother of confidence. Now, confidence can be in anything, and conviction usually refers to your actual identity, your natural state, your freedom, and so on. So then the question, how can we transform doubt into conviction and build confidence? So again, if you are to transform your doubt about something into conviction about that something, that would naturally build confidence or express itself as confidence. There's no building then. Whatever you're absolutely convinced of, you will express with absolute confidence. Naturally, you don't have to build it anymore. Alternatively, you can transform doubt into conviction through confidence as a practice. Does that make sense? Right? Confidence is the result of conviction, but if you don't have conviction yet, you can transform doubt into conviction using confidence. So another word for this is trust or have faith or believe. Again, there's a difference to be made about believing in a concept versus gaining clarity and recognition in the certainty of some fundamental, timeless truth. That's more in the enlightenment department. But if we're talking about the self-actualization or empowerment department, which is about living your life, changing some of the appearances around in your life and developing a more beautiful, harmonious, powerful relationship to the appearances in your life, then we're talking about confidence in certain specifics or certain ideas or certain building blocks or principles that can then help you in transforming the appearances of your life into a life stream that works in greater harmony with your blueprint or your true sense of self or your actual resonance, beyond the gremlin, obviously. So, how do we transform doubt into conviction? In the enlightenment path, it's very simple. You just do what we did at the start of this call. You rest your attention in the relief which exists already at the basis of every experience. There's a relief, there's an ease, there's a freedom available to you experientially, directly, in every moment. Doesn't matter what something looks like. Once you can find that ease, that freedom even in chaos, that relief even in stress and pain, then you can simply practice being confident in that ease, putting your trust in that ease. Now, we're just calling it ease, but it's a different word for God. It just, to the human, it feels initially like ease or like relief or like peace or like liberation from what you were so concerned about a second before. So when you find that hint of ease, of relief, of peace, of freedom, you strengthen it by letting everything be as it is and emphasizing the sense of relief, which is another way, it's the human way of focusing your attention on a creator. So ease or relief kind of is the aura, it's the emanation of Source. It's God's aura. It's God's fragrance, if you will. And it's a pleasant fragrance, thank God. Rest in that fragrance of God, which is ease and peace in the midst of challenge, in the midst of chaos. And you can lock on to God. You can then gain confidence in God, in this open, free awakeness. And practicing confidence or resting in this relief will gain you the conviction that you seek that's of a more absolute nature. That's of a stable, formless, timeless, universal nature. That's got nothing to do with you and your life per se in a specific way. That will be your stable ground to become a truly remarkable expression of existence that is able to self-liberate at any point, whatever challenge or nodal point or knot seems to be tied into your life stream. And that knot can then begin to unfold, to unravel through the ease. By resting at the basis of a perception as it occurs, not judging it, not turning it into a thing, just acknowledging it as an appearance of the basis of awareness, God or you. So by training, being confident in that space and relying on it in the midst of chaos and challenge, you develop conviction. This conviction then oozes into your life greater and greater confidence because you are more and more convinced. So they are very complementary. Confidence leads to conviction. Conviction automates, strengthens confidence naturally. So if you want to be naturally confident and not like, I'm going to go out and ask a girl to date me and I'm going to be confident for 10 seconds until she says no, and then I'll lose my confidence. But at least for those 10 seconds, I'm going to be confident. if you want the confidence that's spontaneous, natural, and in harmony with every appearance exactly as it is, whether it's a girl or no girl, a yes or a no, acceptance or rejection, pain or joy, then you want to be confident in the basis, the relief at the basis of every appearance. Again, that's enlightenment in a nutshell. But if you're not that interested in that, I wouldn't know why you're not. But if you're not, or if you think for the time being that you're not, because that $5 million mansion on the beach seems more interesting to you than timeless, permanent stability of mind, up to you. Then, if we're speaking of confidence, like approaching a girl, asking her to date you, or starting a business to get the money for that house, or daring to simply have faith that that house is already yours and letting that come into your experience like that, then you need to have confidence in whatever your vision is, whatever your dream or desire appears to be. And this is confidence that you need to cultivate. And confidence requires faith. It requires some leap of faith to go from doubt to confidence, because if you're currently in a doubtful state about something, then that's that, no? You can't really work with that. You need to take a little bit of a leap of faith to let your current state of mind be as it is, doubtful and all, and kind of step out of that game that you've been playing, that you've been fighting. Sometimes I've called this, you need to learn to admit defeat to your own beliefs. So if you have a negative belief, a negative self-thought, a lack of confidence in what you truly desire, what you're truly here for, what's truly important, or even just naturally how to be social, or how to be confident, how to express yourself, and so on, any field within your experience, if you have a doubt in that competence, in that worthiness, perhaps, in that it's all okay, then that's that. That's a game that you cannot win. It's a chess field that you've set up for yourself, a chessboard. And with the chess pieces produced by that belief system on its own playing field, there's different planes, different vibrational planes, different versions of your life, alternate parallel reality versions of yourself, which there are. If you're locked in to one level that's perhaps not preferable, that doesn't allow for the fullest joy and expression and learning, then you have to exit that vibrational domain in order to truly resolve that game. And you cannot do that by fighting with your belief at that level, because that's the same as just continuing to play the chess game at that level. But if you admit defeat to yourself, if you say, I believe I'm worthless, there's an appearance within my consciousness that suggests that I believe that I am worthless. You can depersonalize it a little bit like that. It's very helpful. So instead of, I believe I'm worthless, you can be more accurate. What's more accurate? There is an appearance, aka an experience or a perception, that is arising, that is appearing within my unaffected awareness, which is suggesting mentally through thought waves that I, whatever I is assumed to be, usually the body, am unworthy of this dream, or of this passion, or of this pursuit, or of this realization, or of enlightenment, or of God's love, or whatever. So the more accurate statement is, there is an appearance arising in my consciousness, in this wide open basis of intelligent freedom, that is mentally suggesting to this consciousness that I, whatever I is projected to be, usually the body, is unworthy because of this or that or this or that. That's what's occurring. That's realistic, no? It's not accurate to say, I believe I am unworthy. It's not accurate. It's not precise at all. It's a fallacy, it's a personalization, it's a fiction, it's a story. What's actually happening is that within your consciousness, there's arising an idea which exists solely as an appearance to this awareness. And it's suggesting somehow that you, whatever you assume yourself to be, is unworthy. That's what's actually occurring. So that already frees you up quite a bit if you can see it as an appearance instead of a thing or reality. Then the next step would be to admit defeat. Say, oh wow, what a beautiful thought form. What a beautiful appearance. It's the suggestion that against all odds, that against all of infinity and all of this unity and all of this incredible mystery and magic, that somehow I, associated with a particular form, usually a clump of cells, am somehow unworthy of some perhaps deeper metaphysical blueprint or desire that I feel. What a beautiful, ridiculous idea. What a chess game. Do I want to play this chess game? If the answer is yes, then by all means go into it, disagree with it, reject it, deny it, try to cover it up, try to gather evidence in your life stream of other appearances that then will support you in fighting that belief and proving that you are worthy. So if you want to play that game and buy into that suggestion in the first place, you have the free will to do that. Nobody's stopping you, not even you, not even God. You have been granted free will to play all kinds of ridiculous games. And it's all serving the greater good in some way, shape, or form. Even when it feels horrible. It's still serving the play of exploration of what's possible. But if you realize, hey, wait a second, this game is beautiful, but ridiculous, and I don't really feel like playing that game today, then you won't go and try to prove that you're worthy. That would be a waste of time, because then you're entering the chess game. Instead, you give up. You resign the chess game. You say, you know what? Take my king. Make me unworthy. You're right. You're absolutely correct. The I which you project as being I, and which you suggest is unworthy, I can totally see that from your point of view. I think it's a beautiful, unique, rare, slightly ridiculous suggestion. And but I'll take it. And then you're free. Once you say, you know what? I am unworthy. I'm completely unworthy of all of my dreams and desires and hopes. If you do this with the right attitude, at some point you feel this massive relief. It's the relief of no longer having to play this tedious, decade-long chess game that never seems to end. You're like, wow, I am unworthy. For the rest of my life, I shall forevermore be unworthy of everything that Spirit wants for me. That's great. Now what's next? Since that's already decided, since I already lost that chess game, might as well move on to some other game. I'm going to be unworthy for the rest of my life. I will never have that relationship or dream mansion or financial freedom. I will never have the freedom that I seek. Since I will never have the freedom that I seek because I'm fundamentally unworthy of it, might as well put my attention somewhere else. Might as well get curious about some other game. And now you're free. You feel relief because you're not fighting your beliefs. But when you stop fighting your beliefs, something magical happens. You also cannot accept them anymore. You don't believe in them anymore. It's the fighting that keeps it seem real. So don't fear your negative beliefs. They have absolutely zero power over you. Accept them completely, and you transmute them into confidence. Accept that you are doubtful, shy, insecure, stuttering, unworthy, ugly little human being, and nobody will ever want you or see you for what you truly are, then you're free. Fuck it. Be unworthy for life. New t-shirt. Hashtag be unworthy for life. Stop fighting. That's the message. And the acceptance will bring in the actual intelligence that's not contrived, that's not constructed by your ego, that's not a fight or an elaborate scheme to try to prove the belief system wrong. The intelligence that kicks in when true acceptance and relief has been applied will inform you with clarity, with truth, and then you can not believe that the Barbie doll is actually real, because you see it's just a lifeless doll. You cannot believe that Santa Claus is real because you know it's just a children's story. You cannot believe that you are unworthy for life because it just seems utterly silly, meaningless, irrelevant, powerless, redundant, and hilarious. Without having fought anything, without having gone out of your way to find an even better girlfriend, to prove to the other girlfriend that you are worthy of a beautiful woman, or whatever you're doing to compensate for whatever you're doing. You don't have to go through that whole rat race, which usually takes many months or years of being engaged in some kind of a weird and nasty bubble experience where you're not even yourself. To what? Nobody gives a shit about what you believe. Just to try to convince yourself that you are worthy? My child, relax. Be unworthy for life. And be free. To complete it, it would be hashtag be unworthy for life and be free. Now, maybe not the smartest hashtag to add to my brand publicly, but hey, whatever. So stop fighting, be free. And then, from freshness, intelligence will inform you what you truly desire, and there will be a natural sense of confidence and conviction that it's attainable, that it's natural, that it's on its way to you, that you're learning in the meantime. It's all going to look that much more optimistic and bright. So that's one way. There's many ways, but there's one way to transform doubt into conviction, is to give up. Not in a depressing way, just in a joyful way. I give up. I am unworthy for life. I will never reach this goal. I am shy. I am not a confident person, and I will never be a confident person. You admit defeat, and then you win the game of no longer having to play that game, which is a bigger reward than winning the game. Okay, number 2. What are the most effective ways to let go? Whether it's resentment, guilt, frustration, or low self-esteem. Some of this we have already laid the foundation for just now, so that's good. What are the most effective ways to let go? Whether it's resentment, guilt, frustration, or low self-esteem. So, again, I usually start by clearing up what the definition even means. What's the most effective way to let go? What does letting go mean? What does it imply? Why do you want it? We have to be careful, especially in the spiritual, psychological, self-help world. There's going to be so many concepts and terms that at the end of the day, do we even know what we're talking about? Do we even know what we're working with? If our definitions are not really clear to us as pointers pointing to a real thing, a real experience, and we're not clear on the thing itself, we're just talking in words, we're just thinking in words, I should let go. Well, do you even know what it means to let go? How are you defining that? Why do you want to let go? Is it better to let go than to hold on? If so, why? So let's be really clear on why do you even have this concept in your mind that you should or want to let go. And I'm leading you to what's, in my opinion, the most powerful possible access point to what you actually seek here. So ask yourself, and I'll clarify this as we go, but start with the inquiry. Who says letting go is better than holding on? Let's start with that assumption. Because the moment you assume that, you're in a world of trouble. Because now you have to let go. Before you assume that letting go is better than holding on, you're free. Because you don't have to let go. You can hold on all you want. You can let go all you want. You're free right there. But the moment you believe it's spiritual and enlightening to let go, now you're in a world of performance. Because now you gotta let go. And you don't even know what that is or how to do that. Maybe because there is no such thing. And this is my truest answer. It's the highest answer. It's also the subtlest and most advanced answer, so if it goes over your head, I understand. But there is no such thing as letting go. It does not exist. It's an absolute construct of the mind. Think about some time when you've let something go. It's hilarious. Think about it. Remember when you finally let something go? After all that hard work and spiritual practice and resistance and acceptance, you finally let it go. In reality, nothing changed. You just believed one moment that you were holding on to something that didn't serve you, and the next moment you believed you had let it go. But if you look at the basis, the essence of each moment, meaning the presence now, that's hearing my voice, all that happened was the natural consequence of things and the natural progression of appearances. There was an appearance with some tension, then there was a thought that you had let go, and then the appearance changed, the thought changed, the feeling changed, and then you decided and concluded that you had undergone a process, mentally constructed idea of having let go. But nothing essentially changed. The essence that you are now, while you seemingly hold on to something, is the same essence as when you've let go of that something. Nothing's changed. And the relief is in your natural self. The happiness that you seek is always in the natural self. So it's an illusion. What's really happening when you feel you've let go is that you have allowed yourself to relax into the natural presence of yourself that much more. Hence the relief. And then, okay, you could call that letting go. There's nothing wrong with that. I understand why we call it that, because it seems to be the case. We hold on to some image, some idea, some expectation, some frustration, some guilt, and then something happens that allows us to give ourselves permission mentally to say, hey, wait a second, I'm done with this, or I've forgiven this, I've accepted this, and now I let it go. But the awareness that's looking at the tense state of holding on, and the idea that you're now letting go, and the feeling after you have concluded that you have let go, the space underneath all that, outshining all that, is the same changeless space, and it's entirely unimpressed with your letting go. It is also completely unimpressed with you making it into a problem that you're holding on. So the true state of let go is always already the case. So while you're holding on to some idea, some image, while you're striving towards some kind of a change in your life, or resisting something that appears in the moment, or something you assume exists even when it's no longer appearing in the moment, which is what we call the past, resentment and frustration and guilt and so on. Not frustration so much, but guilt and resentment and self-esteem. They're all products of assuming something that is not appearing somehow has validity in the now. Therefore, obscuring the power of now, which is the only moment of power, with an assumption. And awareness is unimpressed. Awareness remains undistracted. God, the relief at the basis of every appearance, equally so, remains unaffected entirely. So then you tell yourself a story, okay, now I finally let go. Now I can relax. And awareness goes, okay, yeah, now you can relax. You could relax before too, but sure, now you can relax. And you can associate that relaxation as being because of letting go of some artificial construct. But in truth, I, which is you, were always already unaffected, stress-free, stainlessly present, inconquerable, more open than space, more intelligent than the smartest extraterrestrial higher dimensional being. Already here. So to awareness, to the true peace, holding on and letting go are two mentally constructed extremes that have no basis in reality. So if you want to live in a flow state, which is really what you're asking for, you're not looking to let go. You think you need to let go in order to live in this flow of presence, this flow of being, this flow of freedom and intelligence, of natural recognition, of power, pure power, freedom, your real self. You want to awaken, and you think you need to let go of something in order to become what's timelessly been the case already. So what if you would let go of the idea that you have to let go? Why not try that? Why not be as fucked up as you are, exactly as you are, as unworthy, irredeemable, resentful, hateful of yourself, unfairly treated by the world, abandoned by multiple partners and mommy and daddy, made sick by toxic society and chemicals and fluoride in the water and what have you. Why not be as you are and let go of the idea that anything whatsoever needs to change before perfection can be seen? Now that would be the true meaning of letting go. That would be the true experience, the most direct path of letting go. So the way to let go is to not let go of anything. Because that implies you're letting go of the idea you need to let go of something. And that releases the tension, and that opens your inner eye to the natural state of power, of freedom, of inconquerability, of immortality, of joy, of God, of union, of bliss. You let yourself off the hook. It's another way of saying let go. But letting things be is more accurate than letting it go, because you let it be as it is. You're not trying to let it go for it to go somewhere else or to leave the appearances. No, let it be. If it's lingering, if this neighbor is still there that you don't like, and he still hasn't moved, let him be there. It's far more work to try to get to perfection and freedom and joy by waiting for that neighbor to finally move and trying to let him go from your neighborhood than it is to simply let him be and attain to the freedom and the joy and the love that you seek, regardless of appearances. You understand? It's a subtle shift, but it's a profound one, because we're such addictive, fixated beings. Yes, no, black, white, left, right, right, wrong, enlightened, not enlightened, pure, not pure. God is chuckling. Every time you pose an idea, every single time you pose an idea, the Creator goes. And He appreciates it because you're exploring all the things that are impossible within infinite possibilities, such as lack and unworthiness and separation. All these things are impossible. So humans are really at the cutting edge of the expression of the Creator, trying to know its limitations, trying to see what's impossible. So you are limitlessly empowered to try to create some kind of an existence consisting exclusively of impossible things. That's hard to do in an infinite universe of limitless possibilities. So bravo, and a deep chuckle to you. We're trying to build an entire life around the only few things in a limitless existence that could never ever possibly be, such as separation, division, unworthiness, limitation, and so on and so forth. We're doing a good job, huh? Because the manifestation of all that effort is the identity of humanity. What is humanity as distinct from a plant or nature or some other civilization? What defines humanity? It's the cesspool, the collection, the creative endeavor to bring together all the only few, the handful of impossible concepts in an infinite universe into some kind of a cohesive, consistent, lived experience within a collective on top of a rock floating through space. Gotta give us props for the attempt to prove the impossible possible. So just remember that every time you pose some kind of an idea, even though it's the grandest idea to you or it's the newest insight, God will lovingly, freely be chuckling at your suggestion. That's great freedom right there. It's freedom from yourself, your insistence, your stubbornness, your necessity to create something or your necessity to let go of something. All these divisions do not exist, my friends. It's not real. Drop the constructs. If anything, that's letting go. It's just trusting, just being. Stop the game, admit defeat, be free. Be unworthy for life and be free.
Massaro University is a vibrant online community dedicated to accelerating your awakening and activating your purpose for the benefit of all. Join live sessions with Bentinho and workshops led by experienced facilitators. Deepen your wisdom, empowerment, and self-knowledge, and experience life-changing shifts week after week. At Massaro University, finding like-hearted seekers is easy and inevitable. Lifelong friendships and a shared purpose fuel profound personal and collective growth. Create your free account today at massaro.university and step into a community that's designed to elevate every aspect of your life.
What is essential for fully awakening from this dream at the deepest level? Now, there's many ways into this deeper level. Well, really only one way, but several ways to describe it. So here we're talking about absolute reality, which is beyond even that sense of awareness. I won't probably go too deeply into this, but I will answer the question, which is, what is an essential requirement for this? So I will not describe the path into absolute realization or freedom or awakening in this session, but the question is, I just want you to know that is what I would define as the deepest level of awakening. It's the awakening from even awareness into the undescribable, absolute infinity, beyond all experiences, beyond even the experience of being. So that's the deepest level awakening from the dream. Now, and what's essential for fully awakening from this dream at the deepest level? So what's essential for this? It's a great question. Will, first of all. There's a few things I can highlight briefly. Will, the willingness, the interest, the desire, the curiosity, but also the maturity, the readiness. The readiness for what? To let go of everything that you believe. To go beyond all your assumptions and your sense of reality, most importantly, because that's what it does. And you can try to imagine this. What if you would suddenly let go of even everything you don't even know you're believing in right now? What if you were given a glimpse beyond all human assumptions, even beyond all of your soul's assumptions at the subtler metaphysical levels? Any assumption about form, about time, about reality, about objects, about other people, about yourself, literally everything. What if all of that in a moment was sucked out of your system. Most people are not willing to step that far into freedom that radically, and I don't necessarily recommend it, because it will have an impact on the psychological relative creature or the mind. But that is what is essential for awakening from the dream at the deepest level. But for most people, I would say you don't need to awaken from the dream at the deepest level to attain the peace and the clarity and the wisdom and the love and the flow state that you seek. That's the good news. When I penetrated into the absolute reality, aka had an awakening at the deepest possible level, one of the first things that occurred to me from sort of my mind in response to that was, this is unfair. This is not fair. My whole life and beyond has been constituted to service to others, to teaching. So it makes sense that the echo of my mind in response to an absolute realization, or a realization of the absolute, would come up with something rooted in service to others. And so I was free, liberated. So it wasn't a concern for myself. When I said this is unfair, it wasn't a victim story on my end. Like, oh, this is unfair, I don't want this. No, I wanted it. It was there. It's amazing, it's incredible, it's indescribable, it's absolute, it's unimaginable. It's got nothing to do with anything you've ever known in your whole entire life, anything you've ever imagined, dreamed of, thought of, assumed, felt, responded to, countered, resisted, accepted, rejected. You have no basis in your reality to have any idea what I'm talking about when I say absolute reality. Acknowledging that gets you one step closer to it. You've got nothing to go on. So the echo of my mind responded to this realization of the only reality that's actually real, this is not real, with this is unfair to other people, so to speak. This is unfair because of exactly what I just said. It's got absolutely nothing to do with anything you've ever known or can conceive of. So how am I, the self-proclaimed teacher that wants to bring this deepest message to the world in the most distilled, accurate form possible, that's actually effective regardless of culture, religion, and bullshit? Now what? What am I left with? It's unfair. An awakening to absolute reality is unfair to seekers around the world, at least at the human level. Doesn't mean it's impossible, obviously, because it occurred for me and others too. But how in the world am I going to offer true freedom, absolute freedom, to a seeker born on this planet with human associations and thoughts and experiences and goals and dreams? So this is my way of sort of anecdotally answering your question, that what is essential for an awakening at the deepest level, if that's truly what you were asking for, which I equate to absolute reality, eighth density. This would be required. An absolute non-attachment, an absolute willingness to have your entire reality view, your sense of reality entirely shattered. And I don't necessarily recommend it. But that is what is needed, if that is what you want. And I was willing for that. That's why it could occur to me. Is there a true life mission? Question 4. Is there a true life mission or purpose? And if so, how do we find it? All right, so we're bringing it back down to a more relative level, but still relevant to our experience. One of the most relevant questions to ask yourself, I think, in this life, from this vantage point of being human, being incarnate, and so on, being on a spiritual journey, is there a true life mission or purpose? And if so, how do we find it? I'd say yes. Now, some human beings are they're more like evolved animals. So they're in their earlier stages of exploring life. And this is not an offensive statement or not meant as such. It's just a biological evolutionary observation. There's not that many of those, though most human beings incarnate today are in the more advanced spectrums of being human. They're in the later stages of the human evolutionary cycle before it turns into something even more evolved and unrecognizable to us today. But the human species is at a certain stage in the evolution through form and manifestation and creation on its way to, as I shared in the Source to Source discourse, on its way back to Source, within the illusion of form. And there is an evolutionary trajectory to that. There's a momentum to that, an inertia to that. Those on the more early stages of that phase are more like animals with self-consciousness in a way. They're more like what we picture the Neanderthals to be or have been. And then the more advanced human beings that are actually ready for a higher level of awareness of themselves, for a deeper spiritual realization, to go, if you will, into the next dimension, so to speak. They're ready for that. They're in that threshold of graduation to the next evolutionary level of consciousness taking on a particular form at a certain vibratory rate that then creates a new canvas, a new playing field that feels different, that has different properties of light and physics and thought and the degree to which you can interact with form through mind and so on. For people like that, which is all of you here on this call, is there a true life mission or purpose? I believe there is. Doesn't mean that the Neanderthal, so to speak, doesn't have a purpose. It does, otherwise it wouldn't exist. But it's not relevant in terms of this question, like, do I have a life mission? How do I align to that? How do I find out what it is? That becomes relevant later on in the trajectory, in the vector, in the spectrum of human evolution. And for you, all of you, I think this is a very relevant question. It will help take you to the next level of your own development, your own awakening, your own manifestation, your own evolution. And then it's particularly relevant in a slightly different way. It's more of a remembrance for a few of you, maybe even all of you to some degree, for those who are actually already evolved beyond the human level prior to incarnation, but choose to incarnate to make a difference for humanity. So those are typically referred to as wanderers or sometimes starseeds. Try to avoid that term. It's a little too woo-woo for me, but the term wanderers, it's a wandering soul that is wandering. It's wandering around. It's not wandering, it's wandering with an A. And it's serving. It's looking for opportunities to be of service. And if it's willing to incarnate, to bring some light to this planet, to bring some illumination to this planet, then it is very useful, I would say even imperative, that during the incarnation, such a being remembers why they are here. There's few things more relevant than that. In fact, the soul is kind of hell-bent on giving you those nudges while you're in the forgetful, incarnate, blinded state to urge you, to inspire you, to motivate you, to give you the catalyst that you need, to awaken, to remember, to ask yourself the deeper questions in life, so that you don't just become one of the humans lost in delusion, but you actually execute what you came here to be. You actually begin to radiate what you came here to be an example of. So both in the case of the human who is new to this next level of evolution that's opening up to humanity at this time, as well as the wanderer who is already familiar with that in their own native history, but has come here to be of service to this transition phase, for both of these, it is a very relevant question to ask yourself, is there a mission, and what is it? And I intend to do a longer series at some point, or a session or two, but it might be a series or a weekend retreat or something like that, specifically on this topic, becoming mission ready. So there's a good chance there'll be a time that I will answer this in much greater depth and practicality and nuance and aspects and so on. If you guys are interested in that, let me know. Is there a true life mission or purpose? And if so, how do we find it? Okay, let's focus on that aspect. How do we find that? Assuming that you all have one, and I think you do. Now, the first part is always to ask for it. Just with anything, any change, any realization, is to guide your will to guide your faith, to guide your attention to the very question that you have. Because questions truly are powerful. I know the cliche is, ask and thou shalt receive, but it's truly like that. Asking the proper question is like unlocking the code to the answer. So if you look at it like a code or like a puzzle, or like a combination, like a lock, you can unlock pretty much every lock by asking the right question of yourself. Of course, being attuned to it as well, you want to be attentive to it, not just casually ask it. You need to ask it with your heart behind it, with your passion behind it. But if you really ask yourself, usually through seeing that it makes no sense to live life randomly anymore, and that you want that clear purpose, and you want to remember more fully why you're here, and you want clearer guidance as what to act on, then if that passion is behind that question, you will get an answer. And the question could be exactly what you said. What is my mission? What's my purpose? What is my calling? Why the fuck am I here? Because that's really the question. It's a good question. It might unlock it for you. Why the fuck am I here? Might be more powerful than what's my mission. Because it includes the passion against random living, you see, in response to random living. It's not just, why am I here? It's, I've looked at this place. I've seen my options. I see my patterns, my conditioning, the things that don't flow for me. I don't feel that great and powerful in my expression. Tell me, Lord, why the fuck am I here? Like, it gives it that extra oomph. Sometimes the perfect question includes some cussing. Just so you know, the Creator chuckles at that equally as it chuckles at the politically, spiritually correctly phrased question. In fact, it will likely give you the answer more if it's raw and it's real and it's passionate and it's from your heart and it's from your frustration and it's from your gut and it's from your pain and it's helping you penetrate through the atmosphere of randomness, reluctance, resistance, laziness, and so forth. So why the fuck am I here? I want to really know now. That's what that communicates. Everything is vibration. So cuss words can occasionally be a powerful part of that combination. You might have 3 of the 4 numbers that unlocks the luck, but without the fuck in there, you may not have the full combination. Because you lack the rawness and the passion and the truth. And those who pray with their hearts fully engaged in the prayer will find the answer they seek. They will find the help they seek. But those who do it casually or idly, out of curiosity or out of conditioning, they will not unlock those locks, even though they phrase the question properly. So give your passion to it, leave your judgments and biases aside, and ask yourself, why the fuck am I here? Make it passionate. Why in the world am I here? And if you do it like that, you will get a sense, you will get a glimpse, you will get a vision, you will get a guidance, or you will get a shift. Sometimes it's an instantaneous shift in your sense of identity that then allows you to express that freely, that now motivates you naturally in that direction. So really the most powerful way to find it out is to ask the question with full devotion, with full willingness to see what it is, and the full willingness to shift from your present manifest life of comfort and familiarity to whatever the answer shows up to be. Do you think Moses was excited about his mission when it was first proposed to him? Do you think he had no reluctance to free all the slaves and somehow run from authority? Do you think Jesus was delighted at the prospect of his crucifixion? Are you willing to be crucified and resurrected? Are you willing for your life to transform? If not, don't bother praying. Just do your thing. Have fun. Enjoy this life while it lasts. But if you want to ask this question sincerely, you got to bring all of you into it. You got to be willing to receive the answer and the implications of the answer, which are never keep your life exactly as it is. When you ask full-heartedly, why the fuck am I here? The answer will never be, keep your life exactly as it is. I guarantee you that, because if you were living the life exactly as you wanted to live it, you wouldn't have the urge or frustration that would lead to that question. You wouldn't have the curiosity, why am I here? You would know why you were here. You would enjoy to the fullest why you were here. You would express yourself in full power and freedom. So the fact that you have that question in your heart means you're not fully living your purpose. And that's okay. Like I said, from a more absolute perspective, let it be. But if you want to make that change, which I wholeheartedly recommend, because staying safe versus taking risk ultimately makes no difference. Changing your life or not changing your life ultimately makes no difference. So why not then live to the fullest? Why not then explore in the richest possible way you can? Why not be of service as much as you possibly can? Why not exhaust yourself in this trippy little chuckling-worthy joke of a expression of a life? Why not? Why not live with the joke? Why not joke with the joke? Why not have fun with it? Why not laugh at this joke? Why not be powerful in it? If it's all equal and even, might as well choose the most powerful path, no? But then you got to be willing to receive the answer and to execute on the implications of that vision. Now, you can take your time with that. You can go through your process with that. Your process of, oh, I don't believe I can do this. Oh, this seems a little scary. You can go through the process. But at least be willing to be open to begin that process when you do ask for a vision of why are you here. And for a lot of people, it's just an energy. Why am I here? Why in the world am I here? And it's just a feeling. To love everyone, for instance. To help people see the light. Or what's possible, to show that everything is possible, to help people remember God. It's something along those lines. It doesn't have to be, I'm going to build a spaceship like Elon Musk and then take people to Mars or Sirius or whatever. It can be, and often is, I'm here to show love, or I'm here to show courage. So it's a frequency state. We can give words to it, but it's an energy. So don't look for it in a particular way, but be willing, even if the answer is energetic, be willing to offer your entire physical life up to that vision. Otherwise, your prayer is not sincere yet, and the answers will not stream in as abundantly as they could, which is also fine. Then you get ready to get ready. But if you are ready, and if you do have this prayer in your heart, why in the world am I here? Show me. If you really want it to be shown to you, you got to pray with complete abandon. That means that nothing in your life, not your partner, not your career, not your circumstances, not your money, should be any factor in the equation of how you respond to that vision. If you do, you are a hypocrite and you need to do some more work to get ready to get ready. And that's okay. It's not a judgment. It's just an observation. You cannot get the full answer and the satisfaction of that answer, the fulfillment of that answer, if you are not donating your entire field of appearances, which you've so attachedly called your life, to this vision. But if you are willing to give up everything, it's usually not necessary, but something will change. But the willingness to give up everything, if necessary, is what will give you the clearest, most pure response to your prayer. The most fulfilling one, the most clarifying one, the most liberating version of that, the highest parallel reality possible. The more you are willing to let go of what you currently see and have and know and think, the higher the version of your potential, of your mission, you can imbibe and embody and receive. So it's directly proportionate to your willingness to not be you anymore. You the person, with its this and that and its projections. How willing are you to donate yourself, mind, body, spirit, world, life, money, to whatever vision you get? And again, doesn't mean that you will lose all your money, doesn't mean you will lose your house, doesn't mean you will lose your wife or husband or whatever. It just means that you're willing to consider all these things if that is not in alignment with your purpose. When you have that kind of a devotion and will, the answers come clearly and swiftly and continuously, and your guidance will be plugged in because you're not resisting it with your own idea of what your life should look like. You are the culprit when it comes to resisting the mission that you're here, that's so natural to you, that you're craving for, that would set you free, that would give you the abundance that you see. It is you that restrict you. So are you willing to donate you to you? Are you willing to trust in that vision that you're asking for? If so, the process is extremely easy and immediate. I promise you that. It's your level of willingness for freedom, for purity, for true expression of your mission that determines how much of its guidance is informing you on a day-to-day basis. So how do we find our purpose or mission? Through will. Classic practices like noticing or resting as presence don't seem effective for me anymore. What's the best next step? Again, intensity. So this is perfect leeway from my previous answer. It's the same as prayer. If your heart's not fully in it, if you're not fully surrendering to what you are recognizing, then it's going to feel stale at some point. It's going to feel expired. Now, it can help to let go of the words that you're choosing. You can replace resting in presence as notice that you are. You can play around with the keys. You can play around with the combinations. You can play around with the words. Some words are very powerful for a certain period of time, and then they expire. And then it's more useful to take another set of teachings or words. So that's okay. But just notice that it's not about the words ultimately. What you want is the direct experience. And if you just keep repeating the same approach with the same name or term, but you're kind of fixated on that word and you're not separating your experience from the words that got you to that experience, then it can grow stale. But if you go deeper, if you go into the experience of it, so in this case, classic practices like noticing or resting as presence, use that same pointer, but I encourage you to completely drop the words that got you there. In other words, when you're saying, okay, let me rest in presence, and you kind of feel your mind becoming mindful and present, and then, yes, okay, there's this sense of presence. Now, can you stop imagining it as presence? Can you stop labeling it as presence and actually purify staying with the experience of what that is without words? It's a wordless, dare I say the word, presence. But don't call it presence. So go beyond the words is a great way to refresh your exercise, your practice, to deepen. Every time you deepen, it will replenish itself. Okay, but you got to find that new level of purity where you're not labeling things, where you're not just using words. And the way to do that is to really, 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 really want it. To be tired enough of the distraction, to remain undistracted with that actual experiential presence. All right, the next question. What does healthy non-attachment to loved ones look like? This could also be a longer dialogue at some point. Maybe one I could have with one or two team members. It's like part of a sort of a podcast setting. Because it's such a relevant exploration for people. It's such a scary exploration. It's such a taboo exploration. Like, oh, you should never let go of your family members. And like sometimes non-attachment in our minds is associated with carelessness or like even cruelty or abandonment and so on. So we tend to really create this. I believe in the power of families, but the way that we have placed so much attachment on this is very limiting, and it cannot really breathe. And a lot of people who are beginning to act on their calling and their mission, who want a change in their life and who want more freedom of expression and so on, they at some point can kind of bump into their family life or their agreements with their family. This can be your sort of intimate family and kids, but it can also be your brothers, sisters, mother, father, and so on. So yeah, there is a lot of tightness around it for a lot of people, fear for letting it go and so on. But I think that just by letting go of these taboos and not being so scared of who you become when you let go of your attachments, and who your partner becomes when they let go of their attachments, or who your children become when they let go of their attachment to you and your rules and your agreements with them, then the whole family unit can breathe and actually congeal together powerfully if that is relevant, if there is a compatibility there. But often, one or more people in the family are more free in that regard than others, or are becoming more free in that regard than others, and then the ones that are clinging are kind of pushing away the ones that want greater freedom, and you get all these sort of nuances and then judgments around it and guilt around it. So it's a great topic. It's a bit too much for me to discuss in full on this talk, but I'll try to at least answer your question by painting a bit of a picture of what healthy non-attachment to family can look like. The thing is, it can look like anything because it also depends on how your family members respond to your chosen freedom from attachment. Not that you have to make some kind of a dramatic declaration, like from this day onward, I am free of you. You know, it can be a gradual, subtler, more skillful understanding. I think I did something like that towards my parents when I was 18 and ready to go to India, seeking enlightenment. Or maybe I was younger, 16 or something. I think 18, because that age validated my freedom, right? I think I said something like, just want you guys to know that from this day onwards, you're no longer my parents. Got that? Okay, clear. I'm going to go to India for a while and love you guys. Appreciate it. See you later. But that is, in a sense, that is a more organic, natural thing to do for a child, a teenager that's leaving the nest, right? So in that sense, it's organic and understandable and even skillful, perhaps, and appropriate. But in most cases, like as an adult with duties and responsibilities to care for other people, and if you have children, and if you have a partner, and so on, then obviously, in most situations, you'll want to handle that more gradually, with more communication and transition time. But what can it look like? Ideally, it looks like you just being in your freedom. You being absolutely authentic. You being relaxed in your essence, in confidence, in conviction of the natural state. And whatever the natural state informs you to do or be or to go or to communicate, it will do that, and it will do it intelligently. If you don't get in the way of that, with your fears and restrictions and projections and expectations and attachments, if you let everything be as it is, the whole appearance of your whole entire family, the appearance of the kids needing you, the appearance of your partner emotionally needing you or thinking they need you, the appearance of your own attachments to your kids and to your partner or to your parents or whatever it might be, sister, brother. If you just let that be, then you realize, well, nothing actually needs to change per se. It might change physically, circumstantially, but it doesn't have to change in order for me to be me. So why not start with you being fully you? Okay, and I need to nuance this a little bit. By that, I don't mean that you go, I've suppressed myself around my family for 40 years. Now it's time to see the real me. And they see me sing, and they see me dance, and they see me paint, and they see me give flowers, and they see me do this, and yeah, you can do that. But, good luck attaining the highest image of harmony with your family if you become an eccentric response to your former self. kind of unconsciously blaming them for your self-oppression, and then letting it out in this sort of over-the-top way. So that's not my suggestion when I say, just be yourself. You can take it that way if you want, but that's not my instruction. My suggestion is that you chill the fuck out. Be around your family and chill out. Sit on the couch, look around, be present. Don't be who they want you to be, but also don't be the opposite of that on purpose. Just be. Let the social awkwardness live in their corner, not yours. I'll clarify that a little bit. If you start sitting in the corner of your sofa, your family present, or you're at a family party, and you suddenly chill the fuck out, and you're no longer who they know you to be, or who they maybe think you are, or who they expect you to be, you're suddenly chill. You're gonna get questions. Popular one is, are you okay? Another one is, are you high? Another one is, do you want to drink? But let the discomfort be in their corner, okay? Now you can ameliorate it a little bit, you can compensate for it a little bit, but don't lose yourself again in the image, recreating the old image where you don't feel natural anymore. So you be yourself, whatever that shows up as. You be open and intelligent, you be compassionate and free and just present, and see where the chips fall. But if you consistently chill the fuck out around your family, they will then be lovingly forced to create a new image of you. And you got to give them the time to create that new image. You got to understand that that's a process for them. Okay? Now, this doesn't mean you have to say to your brother, you're no longer my brother. Doesn't mean you have to say to your mother, you're no longer my mother. Doesn't mean you have to say to your child, I'm no longer your mother or your father. It doesn't mean anything radical. It just means you are yourself and you give them the time to adapt to that. Now then, if they don't get it after several years or whatever, yes, you can press the issue a little bit. You can clarify that you don't like the way they're interacting with you. They don't like the way that they're expecting you to be. And that's no longer, you feel that's no longer who you are. And you would prefer them to not see you as your sister, but as an equal being, or to not see you as your little brother, or to not see you as their son or daughter, or mother or father, but as an equal human being. And just to relate to you as you are. You can open that dialogue. You have the right to do that. But let the discomfort be in their corner, meaning don't become what they need you to become. This can be done gradually, it can be done skillfully, it can be done with empathy and compassion. Now, the very energetic shift that you would be embodying will then rewire the family dynamics. And naturally, when you're being fully yourself, which means, again, not to be necessarily crazy or eccentric or outgoing, it just means you're relaxed. To be yourself means you're rested. You're in relief all the time. You're in relief from your own expectations, naturally all the time, spontaneously present in the moment. If you can yourself endure that, if that's not uncomfortable for you, if that is your comfort zone now, if that becomes your authentic home, then the energetics will naturally reinform the family dynamics, and it will naturally make you less and less attached to the family dynamics and the people in it. So let the magic do its own work as much as possible. Don't try to make too big of a deal out of it. Don't be too eccentric about it. Just be natural, relax, and let the intelligence that you're naturally tapping into and that you will exude through your aura more and more by simply chilling out, chilling in presence, chilling in awareness, chilling in naturalness, chilling in freedom, chilling in expectation-free, undistracted, stainless lucidity. Just being present will do the work for you. for the most part. Now, they still have free will in terms of how do they want to respond to that. Do they want to panic about that? Do they want to come up with a crazy story about that? But let that be in their corner. That's not your responsibility. The oppression that you've allowed your family to have on you, which is your own choice, not theirs, is exactly by that. You're playing into their expectations of who you are. You continue to play that same role, and it starts to feel suffocating. And you want to break free from it. But how do you do that? Do you push away your family and then you go somewhere else? Sometimes that can be the highest approach. But usually, if you do it in a balanced way, it will reinform the family dynamics. And most people will be open to this shift and this change if they truly love you. And if they don't, then they don't truly love you. And that's okay. Then they're not ready to truly love you. They are more attached to their personality and their ways and their insistence and their righteousness. At which point it's perfectly fine to chuckle, maybe with a little tear in your eye for past sake, but then to move on and to find a more harmonious path for you. You still don't have to do this in a dramatic, eccentric way. You can be passionate occasionally. You can have some, heated dialogues if necessary. If it gets to that, it's fine. But overall, chill out. You just be you and let the natural presence give them a new image of you. Allow them to respond to that and digest that however they choose to. If necessary, you can clarify with words. If they ask you, why is our relationship different? You can clarify from your point of view to the best of your ability. And so you just reinform your relationships like that. Now, ideally, people love it. They love how relaxed you finally are. They love how they can just be themselves around you because you're being yourself around them. And so on and so forth. And it increases the harmony and the unity and the trustworthiness and the strength of the family unit, while at the same time allowing it to blossom out into the world without the rigidity of these silos of this is my family and my neighbors are their family and they're their family. And we can become a more unified people and see that we're actually one big family. Who gives a fuck whose sperm you're made of? Your neighbor is as much your family as is your mother or father. It does not freaking matter. These are artificial, diluted, stinky little lines that we draw in the sand that don't exist, and God is like... And there we go, creating drama and problems where there are none, division where there is none. Love your neighbor as thyself. Love your neighbor as you love your father. See your father in your neighbor. If the whole family understands this, wow, that's a powerful family right there. It's free, it breathes out into the unity of all things, and yet it is strong within its individuality as well, and the support for its units because it's just relevant. You know each other, you support each other, you're financially sharing things, maybe you live close by or together. So it makes sense that you're strong together as a unity individually. But then also there's this great openness to explore your dreams, your guidance, your mission, your calling, to share with others in the world, to love others as you love your family members. So that would be sort of ideal case scenario. Doesn't always happen that way, and that's fine. You got to be okay with that too. What's the most important thing in all this is that you are yourself, and you free yourself of artificial lines drawn in the sand. You free yourself from these attachments. And you do not have to fear, I guarantee you this, non-attachment only leads to more care, more love, more commitment, and more empathy. It doesn't lead to abandonment. It doesn't lead to carelessness. Now, sometimes you might have to set a boundary and say, hey, no more of this. So unless you're willing to face me as I am, not as you think I am, I think it's best that we do not communicate this or that anymore. That's fine. That doesn't have to lack empathy or care. You see, again, this is a longer dialogue. There's so many nuances and different kinds of examples. So, but I'm just giving you a basic sense of it. I think this will suffice for now. Question 8. When your mind is spiraling with worry or suffering, how do you slow down and refocus? Again, the most direct path is to let it all be exactly as it is, to stop labeling it chaotic, to stop labeling it spiraling out of control, to stop, what was the other word? To stop labeling it as worry or suffering. What happens to your suffering or worry when you stop calling it that? Is it still really suffering? Can you still say it is suffering or worry? Or is it just another appearance? Different set of colors and shapes and pixel densities, and the appearance is different from the previous appearance, but is it really suffering? Is it really worry? So always try to go to the meaningless state, because the meaningless state is the liberated state. And the liberated state is the skillful, the intelligent, the compassionate, the wise state. The more you are filled with meaning in your mind, and labels, and definitions, and conclusions, and this is this, and that is that, and assumptions, and restrictions, and taboos, and principles, the more fucked up you are. And it's not going to feel good. It's not going to feel natural. You're resisting your own stream. So when you chill out, even in the face of suffering, to the best of your ability, I'm suffering, I'm suffering, I'm suffering. This is so intense. Why me? Why me? Not again, not again. Fuck, why? Can you take 2 to 5 second pauses where you look at that appearance as it is, without believing that it is suffering, that it is happening again, that it is because of this or that person, that it is about you, and all these things? Can you drop those stories and be naked, like a newly born, present to the appearance as it is? A baby does not suffer even when it cries. Humans suffer all the time, even when they don't cry. We're the crybabies, they are not. So stop labeling what you think you know about what the appearance is looking like. And in the bravery, in the courage, in that soul elevating moment of clarity, of freedom, of meaninglessness, you will find your ease at the very basis of that appearance, at the very root of that appearance, as the very essence of that appearance. The very awareness within which it is happening and appearing will then begin to overwhelm you with a peace, with a wisdom, with a stability, with a reasonability, with an objectivity that you heretofore did not have as this person that believes that they are suffering. So in the midst of suffering, the most direct path is to stop calling it suffering. Stop thinking of it as suffering, and just be in the presence of it. The second highest path would be to actually stop that activity by focusing, as the question implied, which is a valid path, but it is still under the delusion that there is a problem to begin with, and that perfection is not all pervasive, which it is. So it is still depending on a crutch that exists within the realm of imagined duality, division, left, right, good, bad, positive, negative, focused, not focused, and so on. But that's okay. Most people live in that illusion at this time, and so they have to work with that if they don't want to pause that idea just yet. So when your mind is spiraling with worry or suffering, how do you slow down and refocus? Again, slow down is not better than sped up, and suffering is no better than not suffering. But if you do believe it is better than suffering, if not suffering is better than not suffering, and slow down is better than being spiraling, if you thus identify with the mind, which is the one that's spiraling and suffering or not suffering and slowing down or speeding up, it's not you. That's why the most direct path is to let go of those labels, to rest in the moment as it is, bravely, courageously, nakedly, like a newly born, enlightened being. Can you do that? 2 to 5 seconds, over and over again, over and over again. Cut through that necklace of delusion. If you can't, you can, but if you think you can't or want to believe you can't, then try to focus. Try to replace some of these thinking projections about what's happening and what you're chaotic about. Again, see it as an appearance and focus elsewhere. Focus on another appearance. Bring your focus towards something unified that you can get behind, that you can stay present to. Now, ideally, that's the perfection as it is. But if you can't recognize that formless perfection, if you're too caught up in the labels of this is bad, I need to get out of it, then the next best thing to do is to try to focus yourself into one-pointedness. There's another way that's equally as high, which is to simply have faith. To have faith, to give up all your attachment to the situation. So we have the path of will, of focus, of control, Self-control, so it doesn't make it negative per se. Self-mastery, self-control. And we have the path of self-surrender to, say, God, or life, or source, or even to the suffering. Surrender to the suffering, and you will stop suffering before long. You cannot continue to suffer when you surrender to the suffering, when you admit defeat to it. Again, that's the beautiful paradox, the magic, the power innate in non-duality, in transcending those divisions. You see? So choose something that you can wholeheartedly focus on. And then for short moments, many times, focus on it, focus on it. Break the spell of the spiral. Focus on something that slows you down. And one point at this will slow that mind down. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be an apple. It could be the texture of the table, of the wood. You can feel that in your mind. Feel that in your mind. It can be an affirmation that has seemingly nothing to do with the situation. In fact, sometimes that's better. For instance, your mind's spiraling out of control. You're worried about something out of your brain. And suddenly, you just affirm something that's true. Like, holy moly, there is so much grass on planet Earth. Can't believe how much grass there is on planet Earth. This is a fact. There is an astonishing, unimaginable number of blades of grass on planet Earth. It's fucking everywhere. If you focus on how much grass there is on planet Earth, you will, by something true, affirming something true, you will focus your mind. You will slow down that erratic personality that's all about you, the little you suffering, the little you, oh, poor old me, oh, worry, concern. And if you get this image of just how much grass there is, or the abundance of grass around the world, you're free. Unless you insist that you're not, and you go back to the worry on purpose, but in which case you absolutely deserve your suffering. Absolutely. If you find a state of freedom and you deliberately go back to your fetish with suffering, to your addiction to suffering, to your insistence of the little self being abandoned or being betrayed or being unfairly treated by the universe, then you completely and wholeheartedly deserve that suffering. Why? Because you want it. And I wish for you whatever you want. And so does God. This is self-responsibility, my friends, taken to the absolute simplicity of this moment. And there's no way around this. You have what you want. You have what you choose to entertain. You experience what you want to experience. There's never a gap in that truth. So if you suffer while you know a way out of suffering and you complain about the suffering, but you continue to choose those perspectives that make you suffer, sure, you need a supportive community to try to get you to that place where, or teaching or teacher, to really help you guide there. But then when you're in that freedom, if you go back to scratch that itch, to define that thing in that negative way once again, then you clearly need another spiral of suffering until you're sick and tired of it enough to change what you want. You got to understand, if you're suffering when you know better, you want to suffer and you choose to suffer. And this is the most empathetic, compassionate, loving thing I could ever inform you with. That when you choose to suffer, you deserve it wholeheartedly, and I wish nothing more for you than what you have. Because what you have is what you want, and what you want is what you choose. If you do not embrace this power, if you stay weak in your mind, in your thinking, there is no hope for you. You must embrace this truth that you have what you choose, you have what you want, and the power to stop suffering is in your choosing, nowhere else. That is love. Yeah, it's not putting a diaper on your ass. Buffering you from the reality of your own creation. But it is love. It is love because it can set you free beyond the diaper, beyond the buffering you from your own creations. The truth will piss you off, but it will set you free. So please, my friends, embrace this truth. Be hard with yourself in the right way. So you can be completely relaxed with yourself in every other way. But if you don't tame this demon, this goblin of your mind, if you don't kick yourself in the ass, every appearance of your life to come will. Kick yourself in the ass without a diaper on, because that's cheating. Take control of your thoughts, of your will, of your power, of your determination, of your resolve, of your declaration to yourself. Abide in your freedom. Choose it over and over and over again like a relentless motherfucker. And you shall know love, and you shall know peace, and you shall know nourishment, and you shall know kindness and gentleness and compassion. Be the only one that kicks you in the ass so that nothing else can. Okay? This would be my wish for you. Feel free to absolutely not resonate with this. As always, do your thing. I'm just sharing what has worked for me. Let's see, do we have any questions left? 2 more. See everything as God. Does this include limiting beliefs in victimhood? Especially those, because there is the most transmutative power possible. If you see God as God, that's easy. If you see the clear blue sky with the rainbow as God, that's easy. But if you see me whooping your ass on your behalf and not liking it entirely, perhaps, some of you, and you get triggered by something someone says, and you feel bad about yourself, you feel like a victim and like things are not happening for you, and so on. The power of transformation lies in seeing that as God, because those are your hiccups. Those are your hookups to the illusion. So absolutely, see everything as God. I would almost facetiously say, what about everything did you not understand? And I mean this lovingly once again. So see everything as God. It's a great question though, and it's one that many people have. But yes, your victimhood, limiting beliefs, see them as God, and then they're free. It's the same as quitting the chess game at one level, and you naturally elevate to a higher level, the playing field. Question 10. How can awareness become so identified with creation that it seems to lose itself in it? Great question, and it's actually very logical. Then the clear, simple answer to this is that awareness is formless. And anything formless will take on the shape of whatever it engages with. So water is not entirely formless, but it is fluid, right? So we could say as an analogy, water is formless. Whereas if it interacts with a pot or a cup or a glass, which has a defined form, then the water will interact with that form and it will take on that shape. And now it's very difficult for the water to see that it's formless. It will see itself as a cylindrical volume of about 0.3 liters. So the same, but at a much more subtle and advanced and expansive and mind-boggling level. Because awareness is formless, it does not have a form of its own. Whatever form arises within it, it's immediately tempting to associate self, the beingness of awareness, which is formless, with the form, the object, the shape, or the quality, or the thought form, or the projection, or the imagination that arises. So it's a very simple, mechanical, almost physics-based answer. Because awareness is utterly formless, has no form of its own, whatever it conjures up that has form, it almost automatically associates as that form. So then the self, which is originally formless, imagine before anything was created, This formless intelligence was aware, but its formlessness was sort of self-evident, or it wasn't even an object of thought. It was just awareness before any form. Now introduce a creation, a concept, an invention, an idea, a construct, a materialization, an imagination into that, what we would picture as a field, because we're conditioned by form, and field is a form representing formlessness. But it's not even a field, you see, because it has no space. Space is a form. Space is one of the first forms. Awareness is not spacious, not ultimately. Spaciousness is a form within formless knowingness. So one of the first identifications that awareness has is space. Now that becomes the reference point for objects and so on. But awareness is even more formless than space. But when you introduce an object that has a form, this formless awareness will then begin to associate with that form. So that's really the mechanics of it. And that's part of the joy here, is to reverse that process. To look into your direct experience. This is the journey. This is the adventure. So how clearly can I see right now, in this moment? I'm not trying to fix anything, change anything. I'm not indulging my experiences, my live stream. I'm just present to the moment of now, the space of now, the appearances of now. And how clearly can I see, can I wake up to the formlessness of that power which knows this appearance right now? Can I almost see the formlessness of awareness? Can I grok it? Can I get it? Can I get a sense of what actually formlessness is like? And this can give you beautifully liberating, clarifying insights, feelings, sensations, knowingness, knowledge, and so on.
Thank you for watching this Bentinho live session. Bentinho now hosts these transformative live sessions completely free, offering profound insights and guidance to support your journey. To attend the next live session with Bentinho, simply visit massaro.university and follow the instructions to create your free account.